Hey, this is Josh for Retooled.net, and today we're going to be talking about doing a conform using our new tool, reLink Retooled. Now, I'm in Final Cut 7, and the scenario is that I've done an edit for a TV commercial. Now, I'm really happy with my edit, but I want to send it out for color correction, and then I want to bring it back into Final Cut for any finishing touches, such as legal supers or any titles that I need to add, and just so I have the final master in my machine. So, there's a lot of problems with this traditional workflow. If you send to a different program, let's say a DaVinci Resolve or a Baselight, when you get back the files, chances are they're going to have different names, and almost definitely the files will be of a different length. Now, the reason for this is simple. If you give your colorist an hour-long master clip that you cut from, you might only use a few seconds here and there of that clip in your edit. So let's say you have one master clip, and you use that same clip 5 or 6 times in your edit. When they give it back to you color corrected, they're not going to give you that whole hour-long clip. They'll give you the 5 or 6 sections that you used with different file names to differentiate them, whether that's underscore timecode or just an underscore 1, 2, 3, etc. And then they'll give you back maybe a few seconds of handles, but they're not going to give you back the full length of the original clip. So let's take a look at the edit that I have here. And I'm just going to play through it at 3 times speed. And basically the commercial here is just a fictitious commercial for a restaurant, and I just put it together using some stock footage just to show you the steps in this workflow. So as you can see, I just have this fairly simple edit, but there are a few things that you might want to notice. If I select everything and just hit Control B to disable my clips, I just wanted to show you where the render bars pop up. So you can see here I have a speed change. All of these clips actually have speed changes where the render bars are. I also have a number of transitions, and I even have an effect on this last clip. If I click on the Filters tab, you'll see I have a Gaussian blur. And this is one of the really nice things about using this tool. Because, especially in Final Cut Pro, all of these things come through really well into the XML format, I can give my colorist the original clips, and then once I have it back in the NLE, I can still tweak the Gaussian blur or the speed changes and even the cross dissolves and transitions and things like that, as long as I have enough handles. So the workflow is really simple. Basically what I'm going to do now is click on the sequence name and go to File, Export, XML. And I don't need to save the project. It's really not an important step, so I'm going to uncheck that. And I already have one exported, but I'll just save over it, just put it in a folder. I have it here in a folder called reLink. So if I hit save, I'll replace the one I already exported, and it's pretty much as simple as that to get it over into reLink Retooled. So if I come over here into reLink Retooled, you can see the first step is this load source XML. So I'm going to do exactly that. I'm just going to load the source XML that I just exported. And I'll just go to the XML I just exported, and you'll see it has a representation of all the clips. So you'll see the file names are there, the tape names or real names depending on what you want to call it. It also has the ins and outs, the resolution, and even the frame rate. Then the next thing I have to do is tell it where my color corrected media is. So this is the media directory right here. So I'm just going to select the folder where I copied that over from the color correct, and simply I just have a folder called color correct, and I'll choose that. Now if you have clips within a subfolder, you can do that as well. Now because these are represented in white here, that means nothing is relinked, and that's pretty simply because the file names aren't the same. You'll see that I added the extension of _cc to represent that these are the color corrected versions of the clips. So if I change file name from matches original, you'll see I have a few options. I have contains original, and that basically just means that the new file name contains the original file name. And these do because it's the original file name _cc or _cc2. So they contain the original name. But for other instances, I may want to use something like contains part of the original name. So I could say it contains the first certain number of characters or the last certain number of characters, and I have the same options for tape name. Now all my tape names match, so I'm just going to keep tape name to matches original, and for file name I'm going to set it back to contains original. So if I click on the clip, you'll see it's highlighting the clip that matches, and in this case it's 0008663_VTXHD, and it's linking up to 0008663_VTXHD_CC2. The other thing I could do is I could right click on this and hit Reveal in Finder, or I could right click on it and hit Play in QuickTime, and that'll just open up the color corrected clip. Now you'll see I did a really exaggerated, crazy color correct, just so it's really clear that things have been relinked when we go ahead and do the relink. The other thing I have going on here is you'll notice that one clip didn't relink, and I did this purposely. I want to show you a feature that we have called secondary relink. The reason it's not relinking is quite simply that I deleted the end of the file name. So it's no longer _VTXHD, and therefore it no longer contains the original file name, which was that. So basically, all these clips are already relinked. What secondary relinking does is relinks any clips that haven't been relinked based on a new set of criteria. So I'm going to turn on timecode, resolution, frame rate, and file name and tape name. So I'll leave everything set to its defaults except for file name. So instead of contains original, I'll say it contains part of the original. So I could say maybe the first 7 characters and still get a match. And this is helpful when you have some files with repeat timecode, things like that, where you might need to use this feature and use part of the original file name but not the whole thing. So that was kind of an unnecessary step, something I just wanted to show you in the case that a file name was named wrong or something like that. But basically now all I need to do is save it out. So by default, it's going to save to the same folder as original. And that makes it nice and simple. You don't have to navigate to a new folder and tell it where to save to. If you uncheck it, of course, you can do that as well. But I'm just going to keep that checked, and I'm just going to add a prefix to the file. So I'll just type in relinked. And if I hit save, it's going to tell me that my XML has saved successfully, and I'll hit OK. So now, just so we know that we're relinking from scratch, I'm going to close this project. Hit save. And I'm just going to open up a new project, Command-Shift-N in Final Cut 7. If I right-click and hit Import XML, and then select the relinked version of the XML, and hit Choose. Now, the important things to check here, make sure Reconnect to Media Files is included, and you can choose whether you want to include markers or include audio-video effects. In this case, I do want to include all of those things. So I'm just going to hit OK. And I'm just going to take a look, and we have a newly relinked sequence. So if I come into this new project, you'll see it brought in the exact sequence that I exported. And the cool thing is it still has all the speed changes, it still has the cross dissolves, and it still even has the same settings on the Gaussian blur filter here I have on the last clip. Now this is going to work in Final Cut 7. It's not going to work in Premiere Pro with their current XML implementation. They don't support carrying effects over, but most of the other things will come through. So we'll talk more about that in a Premiere version of this same relinking video. Just to compare the relink with the original, I'm going to import a reference that I already kicked out and just drag that over top of this. And basically when you're doing a conform, you just want to make sure that everything is matching. So I'm going to hit Option W to reveal my opacity handles and just drag that down a little so we can see the original reference overlaid over the new color correct. And you can see right off the bat everything is working really well. So even if I go to my speed change clips like here, you can see everything's working well. If I make it full opacity and I hit Control B to disable and enable it, you'll see it's the exact same frame. And I could do that on all these clips, and I could see that everything came through properly. So again, if I just kind of play through it, and I'll just do it at triple speed again, you can see that the reference is totally matching the new color correct clips. And this was with really minimal effort in terms of relinking on my part. All I did was give the program a set of criteria to relink based on, and it basically did its thing. So you can see even the original TIFF came through just fine. We didn't actually relink that. If you actually went back into the relinking app, you'll see that's still showing as offline. That's because right now the reLink Retooled program is only set to relink based on .mov files. So it's not going to try to even relink this TIFF file, but it will show you it's in the sequence. So we don't have to worry about that because the original file path will just come through into the new XML, as you can see it did here. And if I disable the reference, you'll see the same title is there. So basically it's a perfect reLink. What I do want to show you guys, if I hit F just to do a match frame, you'll see all these clips are basically fairly short. They're more or less the original clips with just a little bit of handles, and that's pretty indicative of something that you would see coming from a color correct. So if I go to, let's just pick this clip for instance, you'll see the clip starts and this is already spinning. If I open up the original project just for reference and I go to the same clip and do a match frame, you'll see first of all the clip is a lot longer. This is the in and out of the clip in the timeline here, but also that it starts a lot sooner. So you'll see the clip actually starts way before it actually even starts spinning. So my point is that reLink Retool doesn't care about the length of the original media. It only cares about what's in your edit. And that's what you're going to want when you're reconforming. So of course this not only works in a color correct scenario, but it also works in scenarios where you sent out the shots to get effects done, whether it's from After Effects or Nuke or any other compositing program. It also works in the scenario of proxy files for high-res files. There's a number of different uses here, but I just wanted to show you this super common one and how reLink Retooled will help you to get your spots conformed quickly and easily.